Welcome, pre-algebra students, to another edition of Mr. Chow Time. Here we are solving equations with rational coefficients. Lesson 6. So, a solution, just so we're all on the same page here. I think everyone already knows what a solution is, but a solution is an answer, right? It's a value for the variable that makes the equation true. So, for example, let's say we have x plus 2 equals 3. Well, if we subtract 2 from both sides, then x is equal to 1. 1 is a value that makes the equation true, right? We could have put 1 into x at the very beginning, 1 plus 2 equals 3, and that would have been true. And we can't put anything else into x to make it true. So that's the solution. X equals 1. Inverse operations are operations that undo a given operation. So basically, if we go back to our previous example, x plus 2 equals 3. If we want to undo plus 2, we have to subtract 2. And if we do it from one side of the equal sign, we have to do it to the other side of the equal sign so that it's balanced, right? This minus 2 is called an inverse operation. Every operation in math has an inverse. You should be able to undo anything. There shouldn't be anything in math where you do it and then suddenly you're stuck. You can't go backwards. You can always go backwards. The inverse for plus is minus. The inverse for times is divide. The inverse for squared is square root. The inverse for distribute is factor. Equivalent expressions is equivalent equations is an equation that has the same solution. Okay, so let's take a look at some examples here. Let's first talk about the property of equality. The multiplication property of equality says that you can multiply each side of an equation by the same non-zero number. Division property of equality says the exact same thing. So, if you have 3 equal to 3, you should be able to multiply both sides by 2 and get the same thing. That is the multiplication property of equality. You can multiply each side by the same number as long as it's not 0. Division property is the same. 6 equals 6. You should be able to divide both sides by 3 and get the same thing. And in fact, you can. Okay, let's look at this example then. Here we have 4.2 times x equals negative 52.5. So this is 4.2 times x. Remember that anytime that you have a coefficient and a variable touching each other, that means that they're multiplied, right? And if they're multiplied, you should be able to divide. That's the inverse operation, right? So 52.5 divided by 4.2 is 12.5. Negative 12.5 equals x. All right. Well, your turn. Here we have 5.6. So we're going to divide both sides by 5. Oops, that's supposed to be a 6. So 19.6 divided by 5.6 is 3.5. This is a negative divided by positive, so the answer is going to be negative. Negative 3.5 equals x. Here, we're going to divide by negative 20.9. Negative 20.9. So 205.8 divided by 20.9. Oh, I'm sorry. This is not 205. This is 250. Is 12. So a negative divided by a negative is a positive. This is positive 12. Here's some more of your terms. Divide both sides by negative 13.6. Oh man. 13.6. 217.6 divided by 13.6 is 16. A positive divided by a negative is negative 16. And last one, 13.2. We're going to divide both sides by 13.2, negative 13.2. So 323.4 divided by 13.2 is 24.5. A positive divided by a negative is a negative. Z is equal to negative 24.5. Let's take a look at this example here. A drive-through safari zoo. This is the zoo where you can just drive through it. It's one of those big ones, you know, where the animals are just like running around. There's no cages. They charge $250 per person for admission. In 1 hour, the park earned $13,500 in admission fees. Write and solve an equation to find how many visitors came that hour. So it's $250 per person, right? And we don't know how many people, right? So how many visitors is going to be equal to X? That's the first thing we should do, is define our variable. Step number 1, define our variable. I am going to expect that you do this on tests, defining your variable. So 250X equals 13,500. So we divide both sides by 250, and that gives us 54. 54 visitors came that hour. Your turn. A 1-year pass at PreAlg in the Dream Mall costs $18,000. If the total income from 1-year passes is $82,800 during the first day of sales, write and solve an equation to find how many passes were purchased. So, number of passes purchased is going to be our X. We're defining the variable. That's always the first step. Well, $18,000 for each one. And we don't know how many there are, right? That's our variable. But it equals 82,800. That's how much money they made. So we're going to divide both sides by 18,000. 82,800 divided by 18,000 is 4.6. That's strange. Why 4.6? Well, it's 4.6. It shouldn't be 4.6. I probably should have used a different number, but it's 4.6. They sold 4.6. They can't do that. That's not a thing, but that's the answer. Solve each equation by multiplying. You can also do this with multiplication, right? So if you have 1/4 y equals -8, then to get rid of this 1/4, you can multiply by its reciprocal, 4/1. Multiply by 4/1 on this side. The 4 and the 4 cross out. The 1 and the 1 cross out. All you have left is y on this side. Here you have -32. Same thing here, but we're going to multiply by -5/3 to get rid of this. And we're going to multiply this side by -5/3. So this is on the bottom, so we can cross this out, and that becomes a 5. And we can also reduce this, and that's 2, right? So this is going to be 2/5 equals x. These are both negatives, so they multiply to be a positive. Okay, this is going to be a fairly long video, so let's wrap it up. This is the last your turn. Welcome back. Okay, we're going to multiply both sides by -2, so -14 equals x. Here we're going to multiply both sides by 7/2. So that's just going to be -7/8 equals y. And then here we're going to multiply both sides by 7/6. Oops, 7/6. And this crosses out. And this reduces. And we have just -1/4. Okay. Here's your must do. Thanks. Bye.